Oh, China, you know just how to come up with the goods. Hey guys, Masako X here. Now, for as long as Dragon Ball's been a thing, we've had numerous fan adaptations of the series, such as Dragon Ball Multiverse, Dragon Ball New Age, and of course, the infamous Dragon Ball AF. We even had the recent rediscovery of Dragon Ball Zero, The Origins of Raditz, which Expert Games covered very much in detail over on his YouTube channel. I'll include a link in the top right for you so you can give that a watch after this video. That manga was created by Toybal many years ago. If you don't recognize the name Toybal, you might recognize his other pen name, Toyotaro. Now, does that sound familiar? Well, it should, especially if you've been reading the Dragon Ball Super manga, because Toybal, Toyotaro, same guy. Also, it is my belief that a lot of people really like the manga. In fact, in some places, they believe it to be of superior quality to the TV anime. I must admit, from what I've seen, it does diverge from the anime somewhat. I have yet to check it out myself. I'm waiting for the printed volumes to come out. But from what I've seen in a few shots that have gone pretty much viral, I like what I see. But as much as I like Toybal's work, he is not our focus today. Today, we are going to be focusing on another Dragon Ball spin-off manga. It's a certain spin-off manga which has been painstakingly adapted and remastered into English by friend of the channel, Derek Padula, over on the Dao of Dragonball. You know, that guy who wrote Dragon Soul, which is now available on Amazon, and actually talks about different fan perspectives of Dragon Ball throughout the years. Also, I'm in it, page 58. What's the name of this manga? Dragonball ZeroVerse. Well, Dragonball Tibetan Edition to be more specific. This manga was published by Tibet People's Publishing House shortly after Dragon Ball Z's manga run ended in Japan around about June 1995. As Japan was gearing up for GT, China and the Tibetan Edition began, and they produced a whopping 15 volumes, each with 7 chapters, to create a total of approximately 105 chapters of content. Derek and his crew are currently adapting the story into English for us, and so far they're about 70 chapters in, so it's a work in progress still. You can check out the progress of Dragon Ball ZeroVerse's development over on his website. I'll include a link to the manga in the description. Alright Masako, you've got my attention. This was made in the heyday of Dragon Ball, it's also a fan adaptation, and it's also in English. Okay, when does it take place then? You have to sell me on that one. Well, I'm glad you asked that metaphorical question. The story is set 3 years after the end of Z, and you know what that means! We get to see more of Oob! So many people that I've known to ask me about comments about Dragon Ball have asked about Oob. Are we going to see Oob in Super? Are we going to see Oob in Super? Well, we are going to see Oob in this manga spin-off. Is this what Super could have been? Well, perhaps. I won't spoil the manga in its entirety as it's ongoing, but we're going to go over the first volume in bits and pieces so you kind of get an idea about what the story is all about. So, let's begin. The story begins in age 787 at the time of the 29th Tenkaichi Budokai. Mr. Satan and Boo are relaxing and watching the highlights from the previous tournament which Goku abandoned. The aforementioned highlights include how Trunks and Goten were beaten by Boo, and how Pan desperately had to go pee, so Boo adorably carried her out of the ring for her. In the end, Mr. Satan defeated Boo as part of their friendship/understanding, so he could keep his champ status. 2 weeks later, the tournament festivities have begun. Most of the gang, with the exception of Goku, has met up at the tournament, and they comment on how they look different from the last time they laid eyes on each other. Well, except Vegeta, as Saiyans don't really age until their 80s. Pan is shown here to be a bit of a sassy madam towards Vegeta, and everyone assumes that Goku isn't going to show up, but Gohan breaks the news that he will be coming along with Oob. Oh goodness. As Mr. Satan is talking himself up, he promises Boo that he can have roast pork every day if he lets him win the tournament. Boo counters that with 5 roast porks a day, which Satan can pay for with his prize money. They reluctantly shake hands. This is a really funny dialogue between them as we start to get a glimpse of their friendship dynamic, and the fact that it revolves mostly around food, but there's a little bit of genuine friendship in there, and also the beginnings of Boo's idea about romance and relationships, because as we know from other sources, Boo does eventually want to understand the concept of love. We all know how that turns out in stuff like Dragon Ball Online. and Dragonball ZeroVerse 2 to a lesser extent. And it all starts from his friendship with Mr. Satan and his dirty books. The preliminaries are about to begin, but Goku isn't here yet. Everyone is keen to see how he fares against Bulma's huge scouter-like contraption that is supposed to test people's might, but is child's play to our heroes. Sure enough, Goku arrives with Oob in tow. Everyone is happy to see him, of course, including Vegeta. Turns out that Goku had taken Oob to Kami's lookout to train, most likely in the hyperbolic time chamber, I'd imagine. This is where things get interesting though. Boo suddenly spots Oob and he can immediately sense Kid Boo's underlying aura from within the young boy. This immediately throws the Margin off balance, and he is keen not to get near him, especially in a fight. The combatants, including our Z-Warriors, each take their turn testing their might on the combat analyzer. Mr. Satan starts off, and everyone else follows. Everyone cheers for him, and Pan, as she is his granddaughter to be fair. The rest of the group hide their power to match Mr. Satan so as to not arouse suspicion, until Oob does exactly that by destroying it, using only half of his power. So remember that initial twinge of fear that Boo had towards Oob, or at least his energy? Well, that's about to be covered somewhat in this next chapter. A mysterious creature that looks like Babidi and his assistant are watching the tournament from their viewing globe. They are apparently on the hunt for something, and they find said thing in the form of Oob. Perhaps they are trying to resurrect Kid Boo? Well, we'll have to wait and see. Back at the tournament, Chi-Chi and Bulma are discussing prize money whilst the order of battle is picked in a raffle, as is the norm. Trunks and Goten get to fight each other once again, but Goku wants to fight Oob, so he asks Boo to magically change the number in his favour. However, Vegeta asks the same thing so he can fight Goku, which Boo vehemently refuses, as that might put the margin against the very person he doesn't want to face. It all works out in the end, as Goku and Vegeta will fight in the second round, unless Oob pulls a fast one over his master. The tournament begins, and Boo easily dispatches his first opponent, Jackson, after he flicks chewing gum at Boo, which Boo takes great exception towards. Which I imagine would be the same colour as Boo's body, if this were coloured, to be a little nod to how Boo would sometimes form in gum-like blobs. In the changing rooms, Trunks and Goten agreed to not turn Super Saiyan to keep things fair, unlike the last time. Next we have Pan versus Nebu, a guy who looks like Krillin if Krillin were 8 feet tall and a beast. He toys with Pan, asking her to pick a finger, which she does, with his entire body weight as he is downed in one slam to the ground. He doesn't give up though, and hurls himself headfirst into Pan, but Pan reflects him out of the ring with a single flick. Next we have Krillin's match, and he quickly whacks AJ out of the ring as well. Then we have Goten and Trunks' fight. The match begins, and the pair are going toe-to-toe with one another. At first, it looks pretty equal. Vegeta chuckles, saying that Trunks will win for sure. It's nice to see such pride from him. Suddenly though, Trunks leaps into the air and Goten follows. What's going on here? Well, as Goten chases after Trunks, Goten sneezes, and Trunks uses that time to elbow him in the head. Trunks claims this is out of strategy, but Goten doesn't see it that way, and goes Super Saiyan out of anger. Luckily, Trunks apologizes and the pair fly back to Earth, with Goten powering down to resume their fight. There's not much time left though, so they better get on with it. Piccolo suddenly shows up out of urgency. Apparently, 6 Dragon Balls are unaccounted for. The only ball that is safe is the 4-star ball, which Goku still has in his possession. Piccolo senses that something bad is about to happen, and the Dragon Balls have something to do with it. Goten and Trunks get serious and charge full pelt at each other. Suddenly, their energies meet, and the pair unexpectedly fuse into fat Gotenks? Everyone is stunned, but Piccolo isn't. He deduces that since Goten and Trunks' powers are so similar, and that they have mastered the fusion technique so extensively, simply colliding with each other at full speed would be enough to fuse, albeit badly. Okay, that's a new one. The fusion fights with itself until Goten and Trunks defuse. Unfortunately, time's up, so the judges have to choose a winner, which they can't, so Mr. Satan has to choose for them as the Grand Champion. After not being able to pick himself, he elects that they play rock, paper, scissors for it, to which the crowd go nuts for because they admire his judgment ever so. The pair go at it for a while, and ultimately, Trunks wins the game, and therefore proceeds to the next round. So that's the first volume of Dragonball ZeroVerse for you. I could go on for ages, but I really don't want to spoil this story for you, as it's really good. I got sucked into it, and I hope that you do too. Don't forget to check it out using the link in the description. Derek has done a great job with remastering this manga and adapting it into English, and I gotta say, I like this story. Sure, the artwork is a little off in places, and some of the character models look a little weird in a couple of the panels, but on the whole, to me, this feels right. It has that Dragon Ball aura about it, because what better way to start a new spin-off manga than with a tried and tested tournament? That's what Dragon Ball's all about. Some of the most iconic moments in the show's history have been taking place at tournaments. Fans have been clamoring for more of Oob for decades, and this came out roughly 1995, 1996. We pretty much got that immediately after Z's manga ended. Also, it looks like the story is going to be focusing on Oob quite extensively given that tension between him and Mr. Boo. I'm still going through the story myself, so I've yet to catch up with where Derek has reached in terms of the English adaptation, so this is all new to me as well, so I can relate to your intrigue and curiosity. So don't forget, if you want to check out the manga for free, check out Derek's website, or if you want to buy it actually as a volume, then you can check it out on Amazon. It comes in Kindle digital format, or you can buy it in paperback. Add this to your collection today, because this looks so cool. Not to mention the covers look really in keeping with official Dragon Ball stuff. But if you really wanted to have a good idea of a story that took place immediately after Z and is an alternative to Dragon Ball Super if that's not your sort of thing, then this is your next best bet, because it has all the characters that we know of and no confusing Super Saiyan God if you really didn't like that plot twist. However, if you want to try and find the Chinese copies of these manga, they're extremely rare, and also the quality of the paper, according to Derek, is very subpar. So just be aware of that, and if you do find a copy, take extra care with them because they are very fragile. So what do you guys think? Did you like what you saw? Do you think this actually fits with Dragon Ball very well? Are you going to read more of it? Leave a comment below and let's get this discussion going. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. Until the next one, be sure to like and subscribe. And until then, catch you later.